In this section, guys, I'd like to talk about the box drum, also known as the cajon. The cajon comes from Peru and also has stems and roots from Africa. But it's funny, this is an instrument that when I first started playing cajon a little over 10 years ago, it wasn't a very popular instrument. People would always be like, what is that box? What is that thing you're sitting on? Is this guy too cheap to buy a drum set? What's going on? And it's funny because the drum is actually designed from old drawers that the Peruvian people would use to try to make percussive sound out of old dresser drawers. That's the concept behind the cajon drum. And now this drum has become so popular. I mean, it's like you go buy a new car, they throw in a cajon. It's everywhere. I've seen this absolutely everywhere. So the explosion of the cajon is big over the years, and I see it in all types of music. At one time, I would really hear a lot of cajon being played in flamenco, in traditional flamenco music, and I'll talk about a little bit about that in a bit. But the first person that I saw playing the cajon was my favorite percussionist, Alex Acuna, and lo and behold, here I am playing the Alex Acuna model cajon drum. Anyways, this is a drum that, this is all it is. It's just a box and you sit on it. If I'm doing gigs for a long period of time, because, you look at this, you're just sitting on hard wood, sometimes I buy a cushion to sit on or something a little bit softer because it can get a little uncomfortable, especially if you're doing a 3 or 4 hour gig or a 10-hour recording session or something. It can be a long time to sit on a piece of wood. Anyways, so I'm going to talk a bit about the techniques and how to play this wonderful instrument. Now, the first thing that you want to do is, just like we've talked a little bit about in the conga techniques and in the djembe techniques, is just explore the instrument for the tones. And the first one would be the bass tone. So open hand, fingers aren't curled at all, and very relaxed. I'm going to hit the center of the cajon. So as you can hear, you really get that nice low-end sound from the center of the cajon, right in that area, right about there. Now you can play the bass tone a little bit higher, and the pitch raises a little bit. One thing that you're hearing, if you're hearing a rattling sound, is most good cajons will have some sort of a snare wire built inside. Sometimes it could be a guitar string or just some sort of a spring device inside the box itself to create that rattling sound. And you'll hear that on this next tone. The next tone is the open tone, okay, which what I do, I've always used this concept of creating the triangle between my two hands and pulling my hands, in this case now up, so you see my thumbs end up on top of the cajon, and this is a good starting point to do open tones. An open tone is once again just striking the drum with relaxed fingers, and then releasing your hand off the drum, something like this. So with that tone, you really can hear that snappy sound of those wires built inside the drum. Okay, the slap is another one that I use on this guy quite a bit because it just gives that real sharp attack on this one. So same concept, thumbs on top. Now when I come down to hit the drum, I'm snapping my fingers back just slightly so they do raise, and because the drum is so nice and smooth and finished, it actually kind of assists in my fingers coming up a little bit. So here's what happens with this one. Also notice how I keep my fingers on the drum itself. And yes, I do refer to this as a drum because it's a drum. Okay, so those are the main tones that you can get, of course. And if you, depending how flexible you are, some people have a hard time playing cajon because they can't quite bend over like this. There are some that have certain lifts on them that tilt them back or forward or whatnot, and some are built with a little bit cushion on top of them. But if you can really bend down and get right into it, you can do the heel tip technique, the conga technique on the cajon, which is heel of the hand here and then the tip of the hand here, something like this. So the cool thing about that is you're getting that low sound kind of from the bassy sound of the base of the hand, and then that snappier sound with the tip of the hand, right? So those are some really, really good concepts to practice, okay? This one, I do play this one quite a bit, and I always get comments after the gig or whatever. I think we might even have some videos on YouTube showing this, and people are always laughing. But it's a great technique. And you make a fist, and with the soft part of your fist, hit the drum right in the center, get this kind of a sound. Yeah, you can go ahead and laugh. It looks funny, even looks funny to me, but it sounds cool. If I want to get that sound, there it is. What I've done, I mean, those are your basic tones, and what I've done, I've always explored. To me, it's like trying to take an instrument and make it sound, you know, different than maybe the average person is playing it. And I've done things by, you know, knocking on the side, just like knocking on a door, you know, or knocking on the front. Knuckles, right? The thumb and finger roll, one of my favorite little techniques that I like to use, ring finger and thumb, rotating back and forth like this to get this kind of a vibe. Or on the side of the drum. So there's no real rules, guys. If it sounds good and it sounds musical and it's in time and it works with the band, go for it. One of my all-time personal faves, and I always have to throw this in somewhere, especially if I'm soloing or getting a little feature to play the cajon. And I probably saw Alex Acuna do this live somewhere with some group that he was playing with, and it was incorporating your foot into changing the pitch of the surface of the cajon. And I'll just play open tones up near the top so you can hear what I'm talking about. So usually when I do that, people kind of take notice. It's like, hey, there's a band playing. There's a guy putting the foot on the cajon. Anyways, that's a fun one. So those are the basic techniques that you guys can practice. But you know, be patient with them and always be careful. You never want to hurt yourself. A lot of them have screws in the front. Make sure the screws are flush and they're not coming loose, because you catch your hand on one of those, you know, somewhere like you break a blood vessel, it doesn't feel good. I've done it. It's never a fun thing. And every now and then, just make sure that everything's all flush. And you know, if you have any damage ever done to it, take it to somebody that works with wood and see if they can maybe sand it down and smooth it out for you. But you always want to be comfortable and watch for slivers and things like that. So just simple little things to watch for like that. So those are the basic techniques of the cajon, guys. So practice some of those.